Day one of question time, day two of the parliament, and the Nats causing a bit of a distraction for Sussan Ley. What do you make of it?
You could see this wedge issue flying in, under the radar, waiting to hit the first week of Parliament to cause maximum disruption. So for the coalition, after getting an absolute hiding at the last election, they're now confronting a wedge issue, there's net zero, but there's also climate denialism. And I think Labor's been very clever about conflating those two. So for all the inner city MPs for the Liberal Party that still exist, they're all looking at this going, hang on, we've got to change tack here. Thanks very much, Barnaby and co. You've doubled down and made our lives more difficult. So the other thing is, this is something that is going to be happening in 25 years. Nobody knows what the technology is going to be in 25 years. No one knows what the situation. What we do know is that no one's running around at the moment dismantling solar panels and wind farms, are they? This is here to stay, and we're now taking on a fight over something that we don't even have to worry about for 25 years. And Eamonn, if he's truthful, will tell you there is not a chance the Labor Party will hit their targets for net zero in any case. This is like no child will live in poverty. Anyway, I was ready to go.
He's fired up.
He is fired up. It's good to see.
And it's a bit of how much of a gift is it for the Albanese government on day one?
Look,
will they enjoy that this afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, you could see it unfolding right now. Sussan Ley doing her best, coming in. She's got to make her mark as leader. And there will be just reference after reference to climate policy. Of course there will be. But let me say this. Look, there's a real serious undertone here, right? Which is, since the election, I haven't heard anyone really say a bad word about Sussan Ley. She's come across as the most moderate, modern Liberal. And a lot of people are actually saying if there had been a little bit more of that type of positioning in the campaign, maybe the result
This is
hadn't
a
been
stitch
bad.
up from the Nats?
Well, it doesn't look great, does it? I mean, I think it's absolute sabotage is the word I would use. She's been sabotaged here, 100%. These guys have waited.
Because day one of question time for our viewers, most of our viewers watch a lot of politics and are engaged in it. And you know that first question time, you want to be putting your strong foot forward. Yeah. It's pretty hard to do that when you're just copping a barrage back.
Absolutely. And where does it leave her? I mean, it leaves her very little room to move here. She is going to be called on to explain, in answer after answer, well, what is her position? I mean, every question from her becomes an opportunity to just dig that wedge in deep.
Dan Tehan, I had him on earlier, and I've got to say, I think Dan Tehan is one of their best front benchers. He's sharp and strategic, but he's a former diplomat. He's going to have those diplomatic skills tested. I asked him, what's going to be harder, the Chinese Communist Party or Barnaby Joyce to try and navigate? Which is harder?
Good question. President Xi, probably. He is right, though, too. This is a private member's bill, and within the coalition, if you're on the backbench, you get freedom to do that. So there's a process which Barnaby's undertaken, which is legitimate, but it is also legitimate for Dan Tehan as the shadow to say, I've got my own process here. We're not going to foretell what and forecast what that process brings about. Let's have a look at a whole range of other things. The other thing I think the opportunity that's lost for the coalition is to look at where climate policy goes as a driver of cost. That, this is where Labor Party's down this path. What is the cost on families going to be of instituting radical change in terms of the transition? And what is the impact on the consumer? And we know that worked in the lead up to the last election, the $275, et cetera, et cetera. So Tehan wants to go in that direction. He wants to take it in that direction. But, the other thing here is, I disagree with Eamonn slightly. It's
that's
pressure
where Tehan wants it.
Yeah.
But do you feel like the Little Proud internal National Party issue is sort of derailing that effort?
And this is where it's maybe not so much Sussan Ley's problem as David Littleproud's problem, because you've got two, former leaders of the National Party now, really a challenge of David. So he's got to manage his own party room.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that. That's a massive problem if you are the leader of the Nationals. But come on, day one back in Parliament, as in the first question time back in Parliament, all eyes are on the leader. The word is coalition. She leads the coalition. Sussan Ley is going to be under enormous pressure this afternoon.
And the government will have a bit of fun with it, obviously. When you look at those numbers, though, Eamonn, and I know you've both been here long enough to see the shoe on the other foot when the coalition have had that massive number. But this is the first time, I'm told, since World War II that Labor's majority has gone across the halfway point of the horseshoe and the House of Reps. In fact, so that's the first time in this building that they've had those numbers. The image is quite incredible, but then they've got to use that. And I think what David Gazzard points out is important, that they have to get some of those reforms in place now to drive down the prices. If they believe it's going to happen, they've got to show that their system works.
Yeah, and look, I think everything we've seen through the first term and now going into the second one is this is a government that actually does have a long-term plan. I do think they've got a long-term agenda coming. They are not going to want to sit by and let power prices for families around the country get away from them. I think they will have a plan. But, let's see them move through that. They do have a sizable majority. They can get things done. There are high expectations. There's no doubt about that. But from everything I've seen, they had a plan that went beyond this last election. It was sitting right there in front of everyone.
And, having been at the low ebb as well, as you look at that result from a Labor perspective, you wouldn't want to be using that as a point to be, show hubris or anything of that sort.
Well,
it's hard to manage that when you've got such a big party room because you get the odd loose cannon and so on.
I mean, up until
numbers.
and up until this morning's sort of stunt on climate from the Nationals, and I think it's still the case. I think the Prime Minister will be very, very careful as to how he conducts himself and to how his colleagues conduct themselves, given you now have a woman who is leader of the Liberal Party. So absolutely, I think there will be every attempt to be and every step taken to make sure they're respectful in terms of all that interaction. They won't want to be seen anywhere near hubris, right?
That's a very good point.
But having said that, I still think there is an issue of substance here for Sussan Ley, which you just simply can't ignore. If you are in government and the opposition comes wandering in after that election result, number one, you'll put that to one side. But just the genuine nature, the issue of substance we're talking about, it is a mess on the other side.
I want to hear David's thoughts on that.
If I was the Labor Party, I'd bring that bill today. I'd start it today. Why would
Joyce bill?
Absolutely. Bring it on. You got the numbers. The one thing I would say, it might be the first time since World War II that Labor's had that swing round the corner in the House with the characteristics of the House.
Coalition has, though.
Coalition has had that in 1996 with the landslide Howard win.
And Tony Abbott too?
Not so big. But what it does mean is it is hard to manage a really large caucus or party room, and you have a ton of hungry mouths to feed, right? Like
you need someone like Tony Nutt for our viewers who don't know
absolutely.
him.
Nutty.
He was someone who could manage the backbench, wasn't he?
It's the caucus rules allow for management a bit better than herding cats in the Liberal Party. The strength of the Liberal Party is everyone's got a free voice on everything, and they use it. Labor's a bit more composed, and you just can't step out of line.
Otherwise, you get booted.
Yeah, that's right.
David Gazzard, Eamonn Fitzpatrick, gentlemen, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, great to
face
see
to face. You'll be here
100%.
again.
Look forward to it.
Look forward to it.